the reality is it doesn't matter if it exists. You put your own unique flavor on this. I remember when you were building it, every time the FFmpeg issues you had, every time you jumped a hurdle, or when you got the audio messaging working, I remember getting a boatload of recordings from you with the thing yelling at me. Hello and welcome to the PyBites Podcast, where we talk about Python, career, and mindset. We're your hosts. I'm Julian Sequeira.
And I am Bob Beldebos. If you're looking to improve your Python, your career, and learn the mindset for success, this is the podcast for you. Let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the PyBites Podcast. And as we announced last week, this week is all about PyBites open source. I'm here with Julian. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. What about you?
Yeah, great. Busy week. A lot of content production, a lot of coaching. We're good stuff. And you?
I know. Yeah. Super busy, man. Lots of stuff happening at home, work, and PyBites going nuts as always. So happy to take a break and record this with you.
We're doing something exciting. It's like the audio version. People won't notice, but actually people might watch us now on YouTube because we're going to put the show on YouTube because we're going to show some things.
Yes. So this is our first video podcast. So kind of weird in concept, but it's just a video. So if you're listening, enjoy it. And we're sorry that you miss out on the screen share where we go through some code, but you can always come back and watch it on YouTube and have a look and see what well, I'm looking a bit scruffy today. I haven't shaved in about a week. So
me neither.
So what are we talking about first, Bob?
Well, shall we do a win first?
A win. Oh man, I've got one win on my mind, but I don't want to talk about it yet.
Yeah,
it's a big win. So let me think. You go first. I'll think of something.
Hush thing, because my win is like that as well.
Well, in that case, we got no wins. Move on. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I can say that I picked up Django again for a new thing we're building, and more to come soon. But
nice.
Oh my god, Django, Bootstrap, all auth, beautiful.
I know you enjoyed your weekend with that, didn't you?
Yeah, normally we don't do that much on the weekend, but this was just pure fun, and maybe appreciate Django so much more. It's just a workhorse,
Mm-hmm.
So expect some trainings about some Django stuff on YouTube soon. That's for sure.
More training, exactly. Yeah. No, my win was the kids going back to school. Well, that's one of the wins. Kids back to school this week, thank goodness, after how many months at home. So I'm happy about that. And probably the actual win here, I'm just kidding, is I had a great call with one of our community members the other day. He was in a tough spot. Wanted some advice to run through some things. He got on one of our strategy calls, and we just had an amazing conversation for half an hour, and it really helped him out. And he sent me a nice email at the end of it. Really grateful of feeling motivated, empowered, and it's those little things that really make a difference. So I was super grateful for the opportunity to help and to coach him a bit, and it was great. So there's my
especially like we were all about coding and stuff, but that motivation and persistence, right? That's often tougher, right? So if you can fix that, the coding is almost secondary, right?
Yep, exactly right.
Mindset, so, Mr. Mindset, great job.
I need that on a t-shirt. That's a good one. All right. So let's jump in. Go and share your screen. Again, everyone listening, we apologize you can't see it. We're not going to read the code out, but you'll be able to follow along conceptually.
All right. What we got here is under github.com, pybites-open-source. I'm definitely going to be conscious about the audio version of this. We have our PyBites open source organization, and we have a growing set of repos here. I think we have 15. And it's growing. We're launching, adding more projects, and we get more people to contribute, as we see here, the list of people on the right. right? And we picked for this episode 5 projects we want to look into a bit more in detail. And you're going to ask me some questions, I guess, right?
Yes, I will interview you as you
All
go through these. So
cool.
let's choose the first one, pybites-tools.
pybites-tools. And we picked that one first because it was the most contributed project for Hacktoberfest, which at the time of this recording still has 4 days left. And we got some cool contributions. And so what this is basically is a collection of tools we commonly use or that can just be very helpful in your day-to-day. And of course, the first use is to print the Zen, which might not to your clipboard, which might not be that useful. But it also has like sending emails, uploading files to AWS S3 buckets, generate license keys, and some contributions. So, well, let me give a shout out to Ed first, because he did this contribution to make a rolled clock where in the environment you can set a list of time zones. And then when you call it, the rolled clock script, it shows you the different time zones. And you can also, you then extend it a little bit by using argparse to also receive an hour and minute and a time zone. And then you can not only list the time zones at this moment, but also for a different time. Very useful when you have to get various people across the world together.
Yeah, for conference calls. Perfect example. So this is awesome. And I like the idea of this, that it's like a package, it's a repo just filled with different tools that are useful to us, to the people in our community. And it's a nice little, Swiss Army knife type thing. The question I'm going to ask you to answer for everyone is, it's still an open source repo. There's still that imposter syndrome for people to submit code, even though this isn't like some crazy super big project, right? This is us. This is welcoming. This is relaxed. So if anyone wants to make a pull request against one of these repos, against this one or any of the other ones that we'll talk about soon, what's a best practice? Now, we just, for everyone listening, we haven't discussed these questions at all. Bob has no idea what's coming. So what is the best practice for someone if they're going to make a pull request against this repo that you would expect or that you would hope that they would do?
Yeah, that's a great question, because in theory, you can fork the repo, write your code, and just open a pull request. And that pull request can be accepted and merged, or it can be rejected, right? So that can definitely be the way to do it. You can also first open an issue or ping us on Slack and ask us like, well, I have this tool in mind. Is this actually something you would like to see in this repo? Because we're not very explicit here in the README what kind of tools we're after. This is more like anything can do, right? That's useful and saves time. So yeah, these two ways, I would say. I think with this one, this type of project is a bit more, I would incline towards issue first, because it's kind of not very clear what it is, as opposed to having a web app and you see a clear bug or an improvement. Yeah, then by all means, just go pull request, because the intent is to make the code better, right?
Mm-hmm. And when you have one of those, though, what is a good way of framing the description when you make the pull request? So let's say, with Ed's world clock here, right? If I found a bug in that and I wanted to write a fix for it, because people contributing to this repo don't necessarily just have to contribute tools, right? They can contribute fixes, whatever they want to these projects. So if someone wanted to contribute a fix or a code addition to this, what's something that what would you expect from the actual text in their pull request? Because I think that's where a lot of people struggle as well.
Yeah, and before I answer that question, also a shout out to Reese, because he didn't add a tool per se. No, he did actually, first of all. He added meaning. So there's another tool I probably skipped over in the README that gives you the meaning of a word, doing some web scraping. Very cool. But That's code, but he also worked on the GitHub workflows, on the GitHub Actions, running the test against multiple versions and multiple OSs. So it's not only code, you can also work on the CI. So I just want to highlight that first. Then if you open the PR, maybe we have an example. So actually there are still open PRs. There's not too, well, this is a live one that actually was open 31 minutes ago. So definitely use the description to give a little bit of context what you're fixing, as well as the summary. And, then among developers, we just look at the code, right? And we review it. So not too much of a requirement, but I would say use the description, make sure the tests are running, which Reese is working on GitHub Actions, which should be automated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm just honestly asking because, I have seen repos before where they say in order to, contribute code, you have to make sure this passes all of these tests and things like that. So it's cool that Reese is working on those actions.
Yeah, and that's because it's still a pretty new project, but I'm sure KarmaBot does have like a contributors guideline markdown file.
Okay. No, that's actually really helpful. I didn't know that those existed in projects. So that's kind of cool.
Maybe that's still not. Do you see it? I don't see it actually, but I'm sure we had that. Yeah. It's not a separate file, I guess.
So it's in the README. Okay.
Yeah, there's a development pattern for contributors. Yeah,
cool.
So there's definitely some. Yeah, so basically before working on a repo, make sure you just go through the README and see if there are any guidelines you need to follow. Yeah.
Yeah, follow the instructions. All right, nice. That's good to know. And that'll increase your chances, of having your pull request merged and accepted. So very cool. So I like this one. If you're listening and you feel like you have any tools that increase productivity that you enjoy using, just even little scripts you've made for yourself that help, by all means, feel free to contribute them to the repo.
Yeah, and just to back up what I said about the issues, I think things were raised in issues like that world clock. I definitely suggested that first in an issue, right? Like, is this well, I guess we discussed it in PDM as well.
No, that's cool. You know what? This is kind of cool because it's a nice way of using all the different features of GitHub.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people get that exposure. So I like this.
Yeah. So the meaning tool from Reese that actually came about, that I logged an issue saying like, it would be cool to have this tool because I'm constantly using a browser for this, right? And he jumped on it, right?
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
And all in 20 days. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Get-Stats. This is just a tool I wrote to get some stats on the amount of code committed on a repo. There have not been any contributions yet. There's just a useful tool I made for myself, and I decided to put it under our open source org to get contributions. So how it works is you run this against a repo, and it shows a little report with the number of changes per week, the number of commits per week and author, and the files that were edited the most, which is kind of cool because then you can see like where the most risk is or where you want to have the best test coverage.
Mm-hmm. This is cool. So, all right, my question for this one, you better be prepared. This is 100% a tool that solved a problem for you, right? Why did you even make it? What was the problem you were having that made you think, I need to write something versus I'm going to do this manually? Because that's generally a stepping stone. I think a lot of people have to get over. This is a hurdle they have to get over. They're used to doing it the manual way. The idea of writing a script or an app to solve the problem seems like it might take forever versus just continuing to do it the slow way. So do you remember? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, I just came to mind actually. I think there were two things. So one was this, as a lot of interesting things happen in PDM in our coaching program. And I think we were talking like, how can I see, or people are just wondering, or maybe I was wondering, like, how can you see how active you are throughout the program? Like, how much code are you committing every week? Because, the program's 10 weeks, is a finite amount of time. And yeah, you want to kind of see those stats, right, for you as a coach, but also as somebody that has to put that effort in. So that was kind of nice, fun conversation. And I think I first had a bunch of bash shell scripts for this, and that of course became messy, not maintainable. So I moved it all to Python. So like, let's do it in Python, have proper testing, and yeah, so here we are.
I love that you even wrote tests for it. Yeah. No, that's cool, and that's a great example of something that's just grew to a point that needed to be a script. Something that's repetitive as well. I mean, you'd want to run this every month, 3 months, quarter, whatever it is. So it makes sense that you build it into a script that you just bang, initiate, done.
Yep. An interesting note on the test, I think for this repo also started to break down test into functional and unit test, where in unit test I used some mocking, and then functional was really like the end-to-end test of the whole report. So that might be interesting if you want to look at this repo.
Yeah, nice. Looking at other people's code.
Always
talking about the other day. Yeah. All right. Should we go on to the next
Number
repo?
3. This one is one of my favorites. pybites-alarm. And although I wrote it and there are not any contributions yet, the thing we said about the issues actually worked here pretty well, because shout out to Lee, he was working on the Windows testing for this. It's not working that great for Windows, unfortunately. And there was also, I think it was an issue raised by Craig, call out, but I cannot see it here now, but I'm sure he said, like, can we have like a repeating alarm? Actually this, yeah. So also shout out to Craig, for making this even more, suggesting this repeat feature. But maybe we show the tool first, right?
Yep.
So pybites-alarm lets you play an alarm after a number of seconds or minutes. You can run it in the background, and you can point to a song library. So the first iteration was to just play a dedicated or a random song from your music library after a certain time, which already is useful because you can say, like, let me play an alarm after 20 minutes because I really have to get up, I really have to drink water, right? And then the second iteration was to actually play an audio message, right? Like drink water or whatever it is. And for that, we integrated with the APG library from Jeff, from who went through PDM. So we actually, somebody that wrote open source, we got to use his library and make this library richer thanks to that.
That's cool.
So shall we demo it maybe?
In a sec. Before you demo it, I'm going to ask you another question.
All right.
All right. So this is something that exists. I can do this with my mobile. Right? I can grab my phone, set an alarm in the clock section. I don't off the top of my head if I can give it text to speech, but I can definitely set it to use something from Spotify or my local phone or whatever, right? So given this is something that exists out there, and you can see where I'm going with this, the solution exists. So why on earth would you write this yourself?
That's a good question. I could just use my mobile, and I do use the alarm feature. It's just that I'm a command line Unix nerd, so I want to have something from the terminal. Right? And that's a fair question. And many people we talk with, right? They say, like, well, everything exists, right? It's already out there. But this is my version, right? This is exactly my version, how I wanted it, and how I envisioned it, and how I love to use it, and how it's useful to me, and probably some other people as well. And to that, I will also say, like, well, this is now a project we have under our open source org. It's something we built. It's something I learned a ton of stuff with. again with the testing as well, to test audio
Yeah.
files. So even only for that, the experience is already worth it, let alone it being useful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what, the point I was getting at. So I'm glad you got there and and repeated what I was thinking. The whole point is that you learn a crap load in the process. If you stop yourself from building because something exists, well, what's the point? Are you trying to learn Python or not? And the reality is it doesn't matter if it exists. You put your own unique flavor on this. I remember when you were building it, every time the FFmpeg issues you had, every time you jumped a hurdle, or when you got the audio messaging working, I remember getting a boatload of recordings from you with the thing yelling at me. with the text to speech. So all stuff that in experience you wouldn't have had if you just said, oh, well, I'll use my phone. So
yeah,
nice.
And two more things, right? Again, that issue from Craig about repeating it 4 times, that didn't occur to me. And him raising the issue forced me to figure that out. And then here at the bottom, we see all this Windows testing, because I don't use Windows, but Lee does. So it gave him the opportunity, and we're grateful for that to test out an angle I'm not even looking at, right? And so it's also like humbling to know how the library maintainers have to deal with all these versions and platforms, and I think that's a good realization.
Yeah, nice.
Anyway, I pip-x install this. So quick note on pip-x: if you want to have tools globally available, you can use pip-x. So I think I have it now aliased in the virtual environment that pip-x creates. So I can just run alarm and I get that same help message. So let's just do 3 seconds, because we're not going to sit here for 25 minutes waiting for Pomodoro, and use an audio message of drink water.
And see if everyone could hear it.
I hope so, yeah.
Drink water.
Hear that?
Well, we'll see if that actually made it through to the recording, but I heard it. Drink water. Very nice.
So drink water was, read out loud 3 times. Yeah. And then, of course, you can repeat that 4 times, etc. You can run it in the background, some more things. Or you can just play a song, linking it to your music library, wherever that is. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I see another use case for this for those of us who do get to work in an office. Set it to a 20-minute thing to play some music, or make a message, or play a siren or something, and then go to lunch.
Yeah. And I got a dog barking now outside, and that's not part of the feature.
This is what happens when you go live, man. When you record live.
Always.
Sort of.
Yeah. So this one is a bit older one. PySource. And the aim here is to read Python source code, as long as it's not C, if it's just Python code. So you can run this with -m and point it to a module and a function or a class, and it will show you the source code. I think IDEs can do this as well, but I use Vim, so I don't have that easily at hand. But this turns out to be pretty useful to read code, and I think reading a lot of code is one of the best things you can do as a developer.
Cool. I remember when you made this one. This one's quite handy. I liked it. So very nice. But it just goes to show, any sort of manual process, lengthy process that you go through, even as, I don't know, just as manual as having to go to a website and look up stuff. There are so many things you can automate and make your own, which I think is really cool.
And I think it also works for third-party libraries you have in your environment. So if I would go to our platform repository, activate the virtual environment. Now here for sure I should have requests, right? Yeah. So if I pip install pybites-pysource, and I make sure I use the localized one, think this should work for request get. Yeah, so I get the source code of get. It's pretty cool. It's very useful.
That's cool. Yeah. I apologize to everyone listening. You're missing the magic here by not seeing this. You're just gonna have to come back.
This will be on YouTube, so check out our channel.
Yeah. No, this is wicked. I love it.
Nice.
It's like the magic of seeing PDB breakpoints jump in.
Oh, we should do a session on that one for sure.
Yeah, another day.
And then the last one, pybites-carbon.
This is your baby.
This one is pretty cool. And yeah, we got contributions. First of all, shout out to Baron, which made some really cool improvements. For example, to argparse. But yeah, this tool, as you all probably have seen by now, we share a lot of code snippets on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and they have these nice carbon images.
They're cool looking background, color coding.
Than what I have on my screen now, but they're really cool. And we want to have a tool to automatically generate them. So that's pybites-carbon. So how it works is you need to install the Chrome driver. Optionally, you can set a second sleep before download because that's due to some slow internet connection some people might have. But then you can pretty much work with some code, for example, you have on your clipboard, and it will automatically make the code image for you. There are actually 3 options. So you can literally type a snippet on the command line, or you can point it to a code module with the -f or --file option. But the one I use the most, thanks to Paperclip, is to make an image from code that I have sitting on my clipboard. So as I said, with the 3 options, so -s will make this code image, -f does it on this code file, and -c, I had these 2 lines copied to the clipboard and it's pasted it on an image. And you can even use it with different fonts. So as you know, our career mindset tips have different fonts, so it's a real time saver because I also have to make those images every week.
Now this is super handy, man, and not something that you would ever think you would have to automate, right? I mean, I bet most people who use Carbon would just go to the website and copy and paste stuff in there, choose their editing or their code style for the sake of editing, and then export or copy and paste the image. But this was super handy when you made it, and so much fun to use.
Yeah. Also used Black with a pre-commit hook, so that's something people can look at. And yeah, there's some, of course, as always, it has some interesting things happening in the testing. So yeah, it's an interesting repo to check out and make beautiful code images yourself.
And one last thing with all of these repos and all these projects, I should say, is that while they do solve, one problem, right, aside from the PyBites test that has all the different projects in them, but they were created to solve a problem, right? Like, look at this the Carbon one. It was designed to create these images, make it easier for us. And there are a few benefits to putting this stuff out there, to making the effort to create these things. One is that it's helped a lot of other people, right? Because it's got 40 stars on the repo now, which is pretty cool, right? So it's helping people, which is amazing. Now, the other thing is that it gives you an opportunity to play with all of these other technologies and features. So, for example, it'd be a great way for you to learn Git if you are struggling to find a reason to use Git. Right? Why not use it against your own project? And the project could be something that exists. Doesn't matter. But it's giving you that opportunity to learn. You just mentioned, Bob, that in this one you implemented black coverage.
Yeah.
Like, how often do people actually get to sit there and use black in a legitimate way, right? As opposed to just playing around locally or something. Great opportunity for that. Great opportunity to put in some GitHub Actions to play with that in a real way. Yeah, exactly. And have real tests that other people can scrutinize and say, and other people can run as they, test out your repo, your code, and make additions to it. So
environment variables,
exactly. You've got a TOML file there as well.
So yeah, it exposes you to so many things that are common in the Python ecosystem, right?
Yeah, it's no longer just a script that does one job. It's got all these other things, and these to add to this as well before we wrap it up. These are all things that you can then grow experience with, which will help you in that job hunt, will help you in your career, because so many other companies and professional services use these technologies as well. So that's a good lesson.
And I have to learn those things as well, right? And it's not very long ago that I started to use makefiles. And for this repo, another thing to call out is the automation of pushing to PyPI. That's all stuff I forced myself to figure out to make this even easier. So there's another automation to automatically release to PyPI based on a tag, a Git tag. So that's a cool thing. Like you solve one problem, but you're learning like 10 things.
Exactly. And was that an API token I saw in there? No, I'm kidding.
That's in secret. That's cool.
I'm kidding. All right. Well, look, that's pretty much it. So, for everyone listening, thank you so much for going through this one with us. And we hope that everyone's going to be inspired to contribute to some open source, especially with a couple of days left in Hacktoberfest, right?
Yeah. We probably watch this 28th of October on YouTube or listen to it on our podcast audio. And then that means that there are still 3 days that you can launch a bunch of pull requests. We will handle them fast so you get your credit.
Yeah, we'll get them in. We'll review them and hit accept, hit merge. So, hopefully this inspires you. And even outside of Hacktoberfest, if you have ideas, please code them, share them, get them out there, and just use it as an excuse to learn more.
Yeah, there's no better way to learn, to write code and do this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll have all the links below. Thanks everyone for listening, for watching our first video podcast. Oh my gosh. Let's never do it again. I'm kidding.
This was terrible.
It was terrifying. All right. Well, look, Bob, thanks for joining me. Thanks for sharing all the code and walking us through it.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. And we will be back next week with another episode. Not sure yet what about. Well, yeah, we'll be back.
Maybe with a special guest. We'll see.
Ooh.
All right.
All right. Stay
Enjoy.
tuned.
Cheers.
Right. Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode. To hear more from us, go to pybites/friends. That is pybit.es/friends and receive a free gift just for being a friend of the show.
And to join our thriving Slack community of Python programmers, go to pybites/community. That's pybit.es/community. We hope to see you there and catch you in the next episode.